guys, Blake and Emily here. Welcome back to our go-kart build. This is our second video.
I'm gonna go over just a really quick design that we came up with since we saw you in the last video. Basically, the big idea of what I wanted to do is have this go-kart have multiple gears or speeds instead of just being limited to one speed. So, in a nutshell, what I came up with is two sets of stacked pulleys where you have one big pulley but it's multiple sizes. And what we're going to do is have three separate belts with three levers next to the driver's seat, and each time you pull a certain lever it's designated to like a first, second, or third gear. And I won't go much into depth on how that works, but that'll enable us to have three speeds in the go-kart. So it'll work well for off-road or going down like a paved road if you want to go faster and things like that.
So today we don't have a whole lot of our materials gathered up yet, so we're just kind of doing small things to get ready. So today we're talking about making a mount for the engine where it's going to be.
Right, so there's two options really. Right now we're looking towards the back of the kart, and then the front would be the opposite direction. So we can either put the engine anywhere we want behind the axle, or we could have put it up into the front, more so like it's behind the seat, which would be more typical, I guess, but it's going to work out better for us to have it back here. That way it gets it out of the way and we can shorten the kart a little bit, and it also is going to be better for our multi-gear setup to have it back here, since we'll have a lot of things going on with that. So, for today, I'm thinking we're going to make our engine mount out of square tubing, like this, and I've only got a short chunk on hand, but what that's going to do is bolt to the axle here. There's two sets of bolts on each side where it would have mounted to the lawnmower that it used to be a part of. So this will bolt directly to that, and then we'll have a set of springs in between this and our actual frame that we're going to sit on, which would act as our suspension. So we have to have this directly mounted versus spring mounted because our engine can't move independent of our axle, or we'll have issues with the belts falling off all the time. So let's head over towards the shop and show you how we're going to get this bent into the shape we need for our engine mount.
Hi, Lily! Oops.
Okay, so here we have just a basic hand-operated hydraulic pipe bender, and I've taken my piece of square pipe and realized that this die is a little bit too small. So I've got a selection of dies here, and let's figure out which one we need for this piece of 1-inch pipe. It looks like this 3/4 inch die will be perfect. You can see it sits right down inside of there nicely. So we'll put that on, and I'm going to try something that I've never actually tried before, so I'm hoping it works now that I'm doing it for the first time on camera. The idea is, when you bend this pipe, it's going to want to get crushed because you're putting a lot of force into the pipe trying to make it go into a shape that it's not meant to. And so what you would typically do is fill the pipe with sand and tape the ends. That way the sand has nowhere to go, and so the pipe has to stay uncollapsed, I guess you'd say. But I don't have any sand, all I have are small rocks. So I'm really hoping that that will work as a substitute. And I better get a funnel to put the rocks into the pipe. Okay, while you were away, Emily made a slight revision to the plan, and I have buckets of kitty litter in the shop, and that's going to work way better than those rocks. And it should be fairly similar to what sand would have been, so hopefully we end up with a good result here. Okay, there we are. We're full right up to the top. So we'll clean that off and put another piece of tape over it. And we're shooting for a 90-degree bend. So you kind of just go by look, or by eye, and show you what that looks like here. So I got both ends taped full of kitty litter. I have to let off of the jack a little bit and push it down. Slide the pipe in, and these are actually round dies, and we obviously have a square pipe here, so we need to try and keep it balanced as good as we can so that it's flat and gets bent at a square angle. Okay, to get the most out of the pipe, I'm going to put the bend in it as far as I can go towards one side. So it's not actually going to be a bend right in the center of the pipe. It's slightly off to one end. Here we go. This is somewhat experimental, so you guys are going to see it along with us if it's going to work or not.
You can see the pipe starting to bend. And if it gets crushed, it gets crushed. We'll just have to see what happens here. We may end up deciding to go with round bar instead. For this reason, that square is pretty tough to bend. So we're just trying to do whatever we have on hand. Like we said last video, this is cost efficient, is that what we said? I think so. Basically, whatever we have already or what we can get for free is what we're trying to aim for. Alright, so if you look at the two ends of the pipe, we're getting close to our 90 degrees, not quite yet. Close. Let's go a little bit more. I believe that's going to be 90.
Close enough.
Now I'll take this out and show you what I'm looking at. I can see that it is slightly mushroomed or bubbled, but I think it's going to be okay.
Ooh.
So you can see this obviously had to get bubbled because it had nowhere to go. And you can also see now that it's out of the die, we didn't quite make it to 90. So I think what we need to do is switch dies and go a little bit further with it.
Yes, this is definitely going to be an economical build. You can easily go out and buy a go-kart frame, but we're going to do it from scratch. Is there someone behind me? Not that I can see. Yeah. There we go. Now let's take a look at it.
I don't know if you could see on the video, but that was pushed beyond where we had it with the last die. I don't have a square on me, but that looks pretty dang close to 90 degrees. And it is rock solid. By the time this is painted up, and we can even squish it down in a vise a little bit, we can correct that where the die hit it. That's what it's going to look like. So let's go back out to the cart and do a little more visualizing, and other than that, I think that's all we have for today.
So we're gonna go ahead and try to correct the bend.
Some of the bubbles that we experienced, I'm hoping my vise can squish those out of it and make our tubing square again.
When I said we, I certainly meant just Blake.
Okay, so take a look over the top here. If you look on this side, this is what this section looked like with that little bubble. And now I've got it squished in the vise and I've taken that right out of it. So let's switch and do this one and then head out to the cart where we're slightly running out of daylight. Okay. Okay guys, so here's the one piece we had, and we'll measure that so that we can duplicate it later and see what we ended up with. But the idea is this will get bolted here, we'll have an identical piece here, and then a little coupler. They should end up being about the same length so that they'll meet right in the middle. And then we'll weld a plate onto this, and our little motor will sit right on there. So once we've got the motor mounted, we can move on and stretch the frame the other way once we've got more steel on hand, and it'll really start to take shape at that point. So that's all I've got for today. So that's it for today with our limited supplies and limited lighting, but hopefully we'll see you again in roughly 2 weeks with a lot more. So thanks for watching.
See you guys.